This summer transfer window has been truly insane. There's just 8 days left until transfer deadline day, and then the summer transfer window will slam shut. I'm going to cover 32 of the biggest transfers this summer as of August 23rd, 2023. And we're going to look at them and find what the best transfer is based on my opinions. Don't get upset. Comment down below what you think the best transfer of the summer transfer window has been so far and how you think the teams will kind of incorporate said player. But also, stick with me through this video. If you end up enjoying it, consider subscribing if you make it further into the video at some point. But without further ado, let's get into it with McAllister versus Gundogan. Gundogan is a player who's just won the treble. He's a very talented midfielder, one of my favorite midfielders of the past decade or so, I'd say. Even though he played for City, he was absolutely killer at Borussia Dortmund. McAllister, though, I think, and I'm not trying to be biased here as a Liverpool fan, but I do think that Alexis McAllister is a player that is just going to fully change Liverpool. Gundogan feels like a player who, I don't know, he feels very similar to a lot of these players that are coming to Barca on freeze and just kind of taking up a lot of wages. And who knows how he'll get on. And his age, is becoming more of a factor. Will he become more injury prone? I'm going McAllister. Sorry, Ilkay. Nkunku versus Madison. Ooh, this is going to be tough. Honestly, between these two, it really depends on how either one of them manages to kind of link up with the rest of the squad. I'd say that there's more pieces around Nkunku to succeed, but Madison has looked absolutely killer so far, and Nkunku's out with an injury. So, I mean, long term, I want to say Nkunku, but long term, also, it could be Madison. I mean, Madison could stay at Tottenham for the next 5-6 seasons, especially if they get a proper striker replacement to Harry Kane before the window's over. He could look really great this season. And this feels harsh on Nkunku because he is injured, but even when he gets back, it's going to take him quite a while to bed into that squad again. They're going to probably have to switch formations once again and reincorporate him. So I'm going James Madison. Kim Min-jae versus Pulisic. This is just a joke, right? I mean, it's obviously Kim Min-jae. Pulisic did score a very good goal on his debut against, I forget who it was against. I want to say Cagliari maybe. But Kim Min-jae has looked great for Bayern in preseason, and I think he's going to be a far better player. Lucas Hernandez versus Szoboszlai. I don't know. Lucas Hernandez is a player I can never really get like a pulse on. He's just like, he just kind of confuses me, but Szoboszlai's look incredible for Liverpool thus far. I can imagine that Lucas Hernandez could win, Ligue 1 or, maybe even the Cup in France or something like that, but they're not going to win the Champions League with him there. And beyond that, I mean, how much more can he change PSG really? But Szoboszlai looks like a really kind of revolutionary signing, so I'm going Dominic Szoboszlai. Nicholas Jackson versus Messi. Jackson has honestly impressed me in terms of his movement as a striker at Chelsea since he's signed. Messi, though, is the best player of all time and has looked equally as impressive as he always has in the MLS this season so far. It's got to be Messi. Just must. Okay, so my internet crashed for a bit, but we're back with round 6. Tonali versus Diaby. Diaby, honestly, I think is going to be really good for Villa. And I think Tonali is going to be incredible for Newcastle. But yeah, I just feel like Tonali is a revolutionary signing for Newcastle. And Diaby is like just maybe a rung or two below that for Villa. So gonna have to go with Tonali. Skriniar versus Aspilicueta. I mean, Aspilicueta looked kind of rough towards the last couple seasons for Chelsea. There was several moments where he just kind of got battered and bruised at the back. You know, tons of injuries, whether it be like a head injury or just kind of a knock from being like overexerted. Skriniar, much younger player, much better player, probably going to be at PSG for a while. So giving it to Skriniar. Mason Mount versus Conrad Limer. I think it's going to be Conrad Limer. Mason Mount has looked kind of shocking, and I don't think it's any of his fault. I think it's just the way that, the team has been kind of constructed. You have Bruno Fernandes in a more advanced role. You have Casemiro deeper, and Mount is meant to be the go-between, but it just doesn't materialize like that. You want Mount a bit more forward and then providing some assistance rather than being the assistance towards somebody like Fernandes or someone like Casemiro. You want him to be more of like almost like a more centerpiece player. But anyways, we're moving on to the Al Nassr transfers, and I love Sadio Mane. Everyone knows how much I love Sadio Mane. I just don't see this working out as well for Mane compared to Brozovic. I could see Brozovic staying there, and if Mane doesn't continue to score, I could see Brozovic kind of becoming more of just like, a utility player who's there in the squad, and Mane maybe getting shipped off somewhere and them replacing him with some other sort of offensive player. So I'm going Brozovic. Bellingham versus Rice, both very expensive players, £100 million plus players, but I think Bellingham is the better player by a country mile, and he's at Real Madrid, so he'll perform better. He's got better midfielders around him, better coach, better system. Got to be Real Madrid. Next up, Fabinho versus Pau Torres. This got to be a joke, right? Fabinho, love him to death, but he's very well past it in terms of, how good of a player he is, I think. But Pau Torres is a player who starting for Villa now, has, won the Europa League with Emery, offers a lot of experience at the back and just throughout the squad. So for 30 mil or something like that, you got to go Pau Torres. Marcus Thuram versus Evan Ndika. Both freeze, I believe. I think Thuram will be better than Ndika. Ndika is a great player from what I've heard. I haven't seen him play a ton. I've seen Thuram play a bit more, and I think he's going to fit well at Inter. SMS versus Chukwueze. SMS is just kind of like cashing in on an early retirement, and Chukwueze is honestly a roll of the dice, but I think he'll perform better. Next up, we have Ugarte versus Timber. Timber, honestly, like, Timber is the type of player who it's going to be tough to gauge because of his injury, but at the same time, I do think that Ugarte, while he offers something to PSG, how much will he offer to them truly? I don't know. But I think I don't know. I'm gonna, despite the injury, I'm gonna go with Timber. I think he's gonna be a better value signing. He's gonna pay off in the long term better, compared to whoever we were just looking at. But Kovacic versus Malcolm. Honestly, for the fee, like what it was like 70 mil or something like that for Malcolm to Al Halal, like it's just kind of weird. But for Kovacic, I mean, he's gonna be playing a lot, especially with Kevin De Bruyne out now. So probably a better move, all things considered. And finally, Havertz versus Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes, like 30 million pound replacement for Alan St. Maximin at Newcastle. And then you have Havertz, who costs quite a bit, 65 mil. And honestly, I'm not convinced by Kai Havertz whatsoever. So I'm going to be a little controversial, and I'm going to say Harvey Barnes. I think he's going to be the better signing. Tonali or Barnes? Easy, Tonali. Skriniar versus Kovacic. I mean, he'll probably win the Premier League. He'll win Ligue 1. He might win the Champions League with them. So we're going Kovacic. Bellingham versus Paul Torres. Probably Bellingham, I'm going to say. Chukwueze versus Brozovic. I'm going to say Chukwueze. McAllister versus Madison. This is a good one, honestly. I think they're like equivalent fees, like 35 to 45 mil. Madison has gotten off to a very good start, assisting a ton. And McAllister is a player who I think, I mean, his red card was appealed, as I said in my video earlier today. But, and no offense to James Madison, very class player. I rate him very highly. McAllister has a World Cup, and I think him and Szoboszlai are already starting to gel really nicely. Add in Endo and how that'll develop, and any other midfielders that Liverpool sign, I think you have a very, very good lineup. So I think that's a kind of more conducive setting than, having Richarlison up top and having to bank on that. Son is very class, Kulszewski's class, but you need a proper number 9 for Madison to really trump McAllister. Kind of, I think it's close as of right now, but I think McAllister has a chance to be better based on his current situation. And without a 9, I feel like it's going to be harder for Madison to reach those heights equally. So, Alexis McAllister. Timber versus Thuram. I'm going to say Thuram. I could see him like competing for like the golden boot in Serie A. Timber, I mean, the injury just is always there. And who knows how he's going to get on from that injury. Knowing all that, I think I have to go with Marcus Thuram. Next, Messi versus Konrad Laimer. Konrad Laimer, does he shift things for Bayern all that much? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, they'll compete for the Bundesliga again, but will they compete for the Champions League because of Laimer? I don't think so. No. But Messi, I feel like Messi's transfer, I think it is better than a lot of transfers in the market because it does kind of shift the needle on the MLS compared to, like a team's prospects. Like it's kind of a different transfer. But not all transfers are worse than Messi's. And I think that Konrad Laimer, not that it's worse, but it's just kind of a net neutral for Bayern. They sign like a million types of these players every other season from Bundesliga, and it's part of why they're so good, but it's also part of why they could kind of get stuck in their ways sometimes. But I'm gonna go with Messi for that one. And finally, the 8th one, Szoboszlai versus Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae is a player who is gonna revolutionize Bayern's defense, and I think Szoboszlai is a player who's going to revolutionize Liverpool's midfield. The question is, which one needed more revolutionizing? And I think it's Szoboszlai's, or I think it's Liverpool's midfield compared to Bayern's defense. I think Szoboszlai offers so much more to Liverpool than what Kim Min-jae could. Not to kind of, rag on him, but I think that ultimately Kim Min-jae is a player who, once again is kind of like a dime a dozen at Bayern. They do have they had a lot of center backs that have left. Hernandez is one of them. There's Pavard, who's going to Inter as well. And for me, I just feel like playing him alongside Upamecano compared to playing Szoboszlai alongside McAllister, it's levels to it. So we're going Szoboszlai. And now into the round of 8. Tonali versus McAllister. McAllister costs 35 mil. Tonali costs 70. Is Tonali twice as good as McAllister? Probably not. Is Tonali going to outright win something for Newcastle? I don't know. Same goes for McAllister. I don't know if he will be like the main contributor. And I think both are off to great starts. But this question will be a bit clearer moving into next week. And since only because of Liverpool versus Newcastle being this upcoming Sunday, do I feel this conflicted on it, because I feel like I might be jinxing it. But if I do, you'll know why. Liverpool may have not won on Sunday, but I'm going with McAllister over Tonali. It's half the price for a player who has a slightly lower ceiling, but is arguably better. Messi versus Kovacic. I mean, Kovacic, he's gonna help City in a big time of need, and he looks very comfortable for City already, even though he's only played like a bit of a preseason and then the first couple games. Messi, I've been kind of skating him by because I feel like it's a move that signifies something different. But Kovacic, is he all that different for City? I'd say no. I think I have to give it to Messi and move him. Bellingham over Chukwueze very easily. Szoboszlai versus Thuram. We're going. This is a free versus 70 mil. I've been trying to factor in value here, but I really do rate Szoboszlai. I think he's up there. Bellingham versus Szoboszlai. I mean, listen, I've been riding with Liverpool the whole way, kind of, with these transfers. But I do think that as a signing, as, a kind of statement, no offense, Dominic Szoboszlai, I rate him tremendously. But the cold hard truth is both these people should be in Liverpool kits this season. But Real Madrid ultimately pulled it off. So I'm giving it to Real Madrid there. And now we have two Argentine World Cup winners. And while Messi's transfer has been kind of a focal point of much kind of acclaim for us, in the sense that, in this kind of context and conversation I've been having in this video, but it's hard to compare Messi, but I think he's definitely in the top like 5 or 10 transfers of the summer. I mean, they're already winning trophies, and it's done so much for the league, and just the amount of impact that this has is so great. But McAllister is honestly a player who I think is going to really come into his own and become just like incredible at Liverpool. Either way, I'm just going to give it to Messi. I love Alexis McAllister and how he plays for Liverpool. I love how Dominic Szoboszlai plays, but we're going to give Messi this over everyone. Now, Bellingham versus Messi. Truly, truly, truly the question of the night. Two transfers that I kind of let skate by all the others because of X, Y, or Z reason, and a lot of it's narrative focused, but regardless, despite Messi having, an incredibly lucrative contract with Inter Miami, despite them already winning trophies, Bellingham's 19 or 20, and his impact for Real Madrid is going to be, it will reverberate for very, very long time. And Messi's transfer will reverberate throughout the MLS for a very long time, and the rest of the football global community, so it's really kind of just, how do you think each of these moves will impact things? And I do think that Messi going to the MLS will open some more people's eyes, but I don't think it'll really be the kind of be all end all in increasing popularity. It'll be a big catalyst, but I think 2026, the FIFA World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico will really kind of explode that, with Messi playing in that again. Not so much this kind of build up, and as a result, his overall impact to the popularity of the sport in the United States, I think, will be measured less so by his time playing at Inter Miami and more so by his 2026 World Cup performance, which I think he will shred at as well. So finally, who do I choose? Messi or Bellingham? Messi or Bellingham? Bellingham or Messi? I'm going with I feel very, very at a loss because as a Liverpool fan, it pains me if I have to choose Bellingham. But as an American fan of football, choosing Messi feels very tacky. So I'm going to go with Jude Bellingham. There, I did it. Comment down below. Who do you think the best signing from these past 32 that I just looked at were? Who do you think the worst signing was? Shout out to Laura Terry on Uwufufu for this kind of quiz and game. Comment down below, what do you think the best transfer is? Like the video if you enjoyed. And if you made it this far, consider subscribing. I'm going to do more quizzes, more kind of opinion pieces, more analysis pieces, and more news videos as the summer transfer window is winding down and screeching to a halt. Thank you again for watching. I'm Sideline Sedo. Appreciate you watching to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.